Hi, this is Sarah Christ with Connect Our Elders, and I'm here with Oleg Cross, an attorney in San Diego County. He is quite distinguished. He has a plethora of awards that you can read about on his website, but he also has a dual career, which I find very fascinating. So he's an attorney, but he also does offer some financial services as well, and we'll get into that as we go. Oleg, what type of law do you practice?
Hi, Sarah. Well, thanks for that very nice introduction. Distinguished sounds very nice and flattering, and also kind of makes me feel a little bit old. Uh, but I practice primarily estate planning and some trust litigation. So estate planning is kind of the overall kind of direction of my practice. And then, as you mentioned, I'm also a registered investment advisor. My firm Strategic Planning offers financial planning and long-term financial planning, investment management to other attorneys and fiduciaries.
Okay, wonderful. And then as far as the estate planning or the litigation, is there one that you prefer over the other? Or is it a matter of you do both because it's quite balancing to have both?
Yeah, it's funny you ask. So, I mean, I started my career as a litigator, so that kind of comes naturally to me. And then over the years, through the process of doing, trust cases and trust litigations, I've kind of discovered estate planning and kind of fell in love with that. And obviously, there's a lot of value to offer there to clients. And so I focus most of my practice at this point on transactional estate planning, but occasionally I'll have select engagements where we need to fix a trust, or there's perhaps some disagreement about which amendment controls or things like that. And so for those cases, I will step in and I'll handle the contested aspect of that as well. But the overall aspect direction of my practice is transactional, just estate planning, whether it's simple estate planning or a little bit something more advanced or a little bit of tax planning for our clients.
Okay, great. And I already know the answer to this because I remember the first time I heard you stand up in a provisors meeting and you told this story. But why don't you share with our audience why you do what you do and where it comes from, your upbringing and the foundational reason for why you do what you do.
Well, I mean, I think I grew up in Ukraine, and I was raised by a single mom, and so I think early on in my life, financial security just kind of became something that I value, and I could see how that impacts a lot of people's lives. And so, to the extent I'm able to play a small part in helping a client get there, either through estate planning or through financial planning, it feels very gratifying. And then, a number of years ago, I was a member of a national association of estate planning attorneys, and a number of attorneys there also had financial services practices, kind of like CPAs started doing financial services practices, a number of years before that. And so I found that very appealing for those similar reasons. It just kind of goes back to, I suppose, my roots and the ability to help people with, kind of reaching their long-term financial goals or helping their families overall. And so I've enjoyed that aspect of it as well.
So that is a good segue, because that was the next question I had for you is what made you decide to want to serve as a fee-only advisor? Now, you already said that you went to a conference and you met these people, and it would seem that it's very complementary to your practice, but I do think that it's important to clarify you have a specific niche. So, in the community, it's not like you're actually competing with all of these other advisors that can use you for the estate planning, right? I mean, because your niche is so narrow. Why don't you share with us what that niche is?
Yeah, so for wealth management services, my clients that I primarily aim to serve are other lawyers and independent fiduciaries. And so, and the reason I think that came about is, I've had my own law practice now for 11 years. So I've jumped out on my own relatively early in my legal career. And there were a number of things I kind of wondered about in terms of just retirement planning, tax planning, making good, sound financial decisions. And I just kind of had to reverse engineer those things for myself initially first. And so now it feels very gratifying to share those things with other lawyers in the community, whether they're solos that have small firms or partners at very large firms, national firms. So that feels pretty great. And then also for fiduciaries, I serve and represent fiduciaries, typically independent fiduciaries, in my estate planning practice. And so it does kind of come natural in the sense that if if I know what the trust document says and what the goals are and what the beneficiary's goals are, it gives me kind of a better understanding of how I might, serve that fiduciary with financial planning and investment management.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of a niche, and I enjoy it, and I kind of enjoy all aspects of that.
It seems like there's a lot of efficiencies to this model that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And and to this day, I'm happy to work, and I do work with other lawyers and other financial advisors where I'm just, I'm handling some small piece of the overall picture,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very happy to do that as well. But yeah, I do think there are some efficiencies, and there are a lot of crossovers between financial and estate planning, and so
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy that.
Great. Can you please, and this is a conversation I'm often, or every time I'm interacting with a family, one of the basic questions that I ask is, do you have an estate plan? Do you have a trust? When's the last time it was reviewed? So will you please share with the audience the incredible importance of having a plan? And the main reason why I'm thinking is to avoid probate, but there's many reasons. Why don't you share a few?
Yeah, I mean, there are many reasons. Obviously, the one that you hit the nail on the head is to avoid probate. Also, just to make sure that there's sound, financial and tax planning in your family, the ability to protect your family members, your heirs and beneficiaries from creditors, predators, undue taxes. Also to provide some clarity in terms of family planning, in terms of who gets what and under what circumstances, to plan for educational, to fund educational plans, to provide for kids, college or private school education, to provide for special needs. All of that is, as far as I'm concerned, can be aptly handled by your estate planning attorney as part of your estate plan.
Thank you. So it just rang in my head. You said creditors, predators, and taxes. So the top three reasons to have an estate plan and a trust: to avoid creditors, predators, and taxes. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. In what ways do you specifically serve elders?
Well, I think primarily most of the time, the way I serve elders is in my estate planning practice, and that may be either putting together, or more likely, typically fixing an old estate plan that's maybe out of kind of out of date, or fixing a trust that was drafted and had right reasons to be drafted the way it was, but based on changed circumstances or just life in general, maybe it needs to be something else. So most of the time it starts with my estate planning practice, but then ultimately I'm always here to kind of on standby if they have any particular questions that I can help with, whether it's beneficiary designations or just helping them understand certain financial documents or financial products, or perhaps connecting them with someone else who is better suited to serve a particular need, like life insurance or something else.
Okay, great. What is it that you enjoy about living and working in San Diego?
So San Diego's great. A couple of things. I really like the weather. I live in University City, and it's pretty fantastic. My office is very close to my home, so that's great. So weather, not having to wear a coat all the time. I grew up in a very cold weather, and so I don't miss that, not one bit. And the ability when things are normal, or hopefully when they return to normal. I train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and San Diego is a pretty amazing place for that. And
Yeah.
so when eventually things do go back to normal, I very much look forward to getting back in the gym.
That's wonderful. I studied martial arts for several years growing up, and I've often considered getting back into it. It's such a good workout. You could go run 10 miles, but then you do a round on the mat, and I'm actually more tired after the round on the mat than running 10 miles because it's a completely different type of workout.
Where did you train before?
Where did I train before? So I trained for
What type of martial arts?
Kung Fu Jiu-Jitsu, but it was a lot of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stuff.
Okay.
And so it was under Professor Frank Ricardo. When I trained with Professor Kufarath. And so I grew up training. And then actually I had a choice. So it was either I had an offer to go to Oakland, California and be an instructor, or go to military college. And I chose
Oh,
the
wow.
military college route. But I definitely miss it. And I really believe that I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have that foundation, because of the discipline, the tenacity, all of that, right? It's a mindset.
Absolutely. I can relate. Well, hopefully when things go back to normal, I'd be happy to introduce you to my gym. Maybe you can try it.
That would be great. Thank you. So last question, actually, I have two more questions for you. So what is a good referral for you? So when people are out there and they're talking to their family members or their friends, what are some trigger words they should listen for to know that they need to connect their loved one or their friend to somebody such as you?
Sure, that's a great question. I think for estate planning, if somebody's talking about an old trust that a friend or a loved one had put together a long time ago, and maybe they put it together 15 years ago and they haven't looked at it since, that might be a good trigger for saying that, hey, maybe you want to talk to an estate planning attorney, perhaps Oleg, or someone else like, and just review that. And the other thing is, if someone is a lawyer or an independent fiduciary and they have some questions about money or managing finances, either for themselves or on behalf of someone else, and they're interested in making some good decisions for the long term, and maybe they just want just some unbiased advice, that's another one.
Okay. And something else that just came to mind. So a couple of triggering events, maybe, if there's a young couple, it doesn't even matter what age really, but let's say there's a couple or an individual even that has purchased a home or they just had a child. Are those events where they really want to make sure that they have the planning in place?
Absolutely, those are very, very good times to talk to somebody about updating their estate plan. If you have young children, probably want to make sure that you have a will with guardianship provisions. Absolutely, those are any type of triggering life events will certainly probably merit a visit with your estate planning attorney.
Okay, great. And then last question, what have you been enjoying about working remotely during this pandemic?
Yeah, it's a good one. I'm certainly looking forward to when things go back to sort of normal. But I do enjoy Zoom meetings to a certain extent, especially with older clients who are located further away from my office, where normally maybe we'd only visit once a year or even maybe once every couple of years. The normalization of Zoom meetings has made it sort of more accessible to talk to me, even if it's something informal. So instead of a client driving 2 hours to meet with me in San Diego, in my office, we can have a 20-minute conversation. We can have it any time, and I think I enjoy that a lot because it provides more connectivity with the clients more quickly, and it also just kind of makes this process a little bit less intimidating, perhaps. So that was one of those things that I actually enjoy very much, and I hope to some extent we keep that.
That's a really good, that's something else that I've recognized because I've been able to be in connection with more people because I'm not spending time stuck in traffic, right? Or, just the travel time from one meeting to the next meeting. So in some ways, even if we feel less connected, it's allowed us to be more connected, even though it's not face to face. I'm glad that you pointed that out. Okay, well, how can people reach out to you, Oleg, if they have an opportunity for your legal practice or they have an opportunity for your financial practice?
Oh, thank you. Well, of course, they can always just give me a call on, the phone number on my website at my law practice, caltrustlaw.com, or for financial services, they go to my website. It's strategicplanningclient.com, and either schedule a phone call with me, through the online Calendly box, or just give me a call. So always happy to chat, even if it's informally, and I'm always happy to chat with other community partners such as yourself as well about any ways that we can potentially jointly serve our clients.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining today. Again, this is Sarah Christ with Connect Our Elders, and Connect Our Elders is the best way to think of me is a healthcare broker. So I will talk to the family or the advisor, whoever needs the information, and we'll determine what resources are needed. But along with that comes the education on what resources are appropriate to your situation, and then I will help be your advocate and your navigator through the decision-making process for the entire aging continuum. Thank you for tuning in today, and have a wonderful day.
Thanks for having me, Sarah.